Where do you put hands?
Is
that?
Well, if you're Beto, they're all over.
If you're Beto, you gotta stand on the table.
You're fondling somebody.
Ready?
Yeah.
So today's guest speaker first ran for office in 1982 as the Libertarian nominee for the Attorney General of Texas. Since then, she has ran for Texas Governor as well as Texas Supreme Court. She is currently serving as one of the 2 District 7 representatives for the State Libertarian Executive Committee and is also the Harris County Chair of the Libertarian Party of Texas. And from when I'm speaking to people, everybody has come to the party because of Kathie Glass. So, since she has brought people into the party and we're trying to figure out how to recruit candidates and get people into our party, here she is today to speak with us.
Thank you, Chelsea. Yes, I was asked to come and talk about recruiting people into the party and recruiting candidates to run for office because that's what we do. But first, before you start working on other people, work on yourself. And so I'm going to send you through a short tutorial. This is a workshop that we're going to do in Harris County sometime this year. You get an advanced preview of it. And it's basically things you need to know, the basics, before you can go out and convince someone to take a plunge and run for public office. You need to know certain things, have answers to questions you know they're going to ask, like what races are up for election in 2020? Am I qualified? Am I eligible for which office? How much is this going to cost? Instead of saying, that's a good question, let me get back to you. You need to have those answers because they need to have a high degree of confidence that you know what you're doing and that you can shepherd them through this process that's very, very new to them.
Good.
Is 2020 really here already? Well, it seems like we just had an election. Don't we get 2 years off? No, you really don't. The November 2020 general election will be held on November 3rd, and the early voting will start before then. And we have filing periods coming up in December of this year, just a few months away. It's a 30-day window for people to apply for public to be on the November 2020 ballot. So it's not too early to get started. In fact, sometimes I feel we're a little behind because we took that well-deserved time off after the election. But let's talk about what happened in 2018. There was little interest in most races. It was Trump and Beto. That's all the press cared about. That's all anybody seemed to care about. And it was in close race. Of course, Trump wasn't on the ballot, but his proxy, Ted Cruz, was. And so that was a very tight race. Cruz got 50.89%. Beto got 48.33%. Our candidate, Neil Diamond, which is one of the best Senate candidates we've ever had, got 0.78%. And that's really just a little bit more than our straight party vote. So we don't do well in close races because they really, really do think that it's too close to call. And the people that would vote for us won't. And these numbers kind of bear them out. That if there really was something about that. But the Beto effect, he did something that I'm still trying to analyze. But people talk about, got to get the youth vote, got to appeal to the non-voters. And it's like, yeah, that sounds good, but how do you do that? Well, he did it. I'm not sure how, because I don't think he's a political mastermind, but he did it. And so people are saying, well, is this a fluke or is it the new normal? Well, I think it's a fluke, whatever you want to call it. It's going to happen every time Beto is going to be on the ticket. And he's going to be on the ticket in 2020. So I think for 2020, we'll have much the same dynamics that we had in play in 2018. But it wasn't just in his race. All statewide races, heretofore, we've had like a 60-35 split, 60 Republican, 35 Dem, and maybe 5% other. But it was a lot closer. In fact, top of the ticket, governor's race, even though the Dems have one of the poorest nominees, that they've had in a long time, she did better than any of them had did in a long time. So it wasn't her, it was other things, other factors. Early voting, I say close races are not our friend, early voting is not our friend. And in 2018, it was as high as 70% in the largest counties. 70% on election day. Well, that's all you need to win an election. And they've already voted. And I think there's some dynamic there that they are not open to other possibilities. If you go vote early, you know who you want to go vote for, at least in the high visibility races. Straight ticket voting was highest it's been. Good news is that's the last time we'll see it for the foreseeable future until the Democrats get back in the control of the legislature, then they'll bring it back. And we saw something that I haven't seen in a while, not a lot, that seats flipped. Seats that were considered safe, and nobody saw it coming, flipped, and they all flipped from Republican to Democrat. Okay, you need to know the calendar, and so here's one that you can use, but you need to be able to tell them when things are going to happen. You know what races are up. Statewide, we have president. That's not generally considered to be a ballot status race. Maybe it is. We have Senate. That's generally considered to be a ballot status race. I think it is. And I don't. The president though is going to overwhelm everything else. That's always the case, but in this case, even more. If you have Trump and Beto on the ballot, that's all anybody's going to hear about, talk about, know about.
When you said ballot something race? What's that?
Ballot status race or ballot access. In the Libertarian Party, any convention party, we have to get 2% of the governor's race or 5% in any other statewide race to maintain ballot access, so we don't have to do this petition drive to stay on the ballot. The Cornyn's race, I don't know who's going to run against him, but I don't think it's going to be, I think he's going to win very handily. And there may be some protest vote because he's not well liked by a large segment of the Republican rank and file. There may be some protest vote for our nominee, but I don't think it's going to be 5%. So where does that leave us? That leaves us 6 judicial races. And in the past, we've gotten on the ballot, stayed on the ballot, because the Democrats have left off someone on one of those races, which means we have a matchup head-to-head, Republican and Libertarian, and of course we'll get Mark Ashe got about 25% of the vote under those circumstances. But I am told, reliably informed, the Democrats aren't going to do that this time. So we've got to find a way to earn our 5%. Legislative offices. We have 31 Senate seats in Texas, a very powerful office. Whole state of Texas, 31 people, lots of power there. And they elect a 4-year terms, but it's staggered. And so last time we had 15 up for election, now we have 16 up for election, and here they are. You need to know who in your area, which one of these is up in your area. And also, we have 150 state representatives, and they're always up every 2 years. Here, I just put the ones in Harris County, but you should do the same for Hays County. Anyone that overlaps or comes in Hays or has any tangential effect in Hays County. And you might look out for some unorganized county that are close to you. That's a good way to get a county organized. If you say, you could run for your state rep seat, you'd be great. Oh, but you can't because your county's not organized. Now, if you'd step up and become county chair, you can get your county organized and you can vote for yourself and get yourself nominated. Then you have maps. Here's the state cities, awful gerrymander, very impractical political gamesmanship that we were forced to. But you need to have the map and be able to refer to it. That was the Senate. Here's the House. You need to know all the races that are up in your county, from sheriff all the way down to justice and peace, state board of education, because these are some races that you might have more success than others in recruiting people for. You need to know a little bit about what they do. What's the justice of the peace do? It's pretty easy. You can go online and read up about it. But in order to convince somebody to run for that, you need to display a working knowledge of what.
I want to interrupt here. Every office on here is something that is just in the county, except for the last office, the State Board of Education, the two of them. The State Boards of Education have districts that cross county lines. And I'm sure there's a humongous deal. It could be gerrymandered where you have 2 days as well.
Congressional races, that's different, has a little different dynamics because two things come to mind. You don't have to live in the district to be eligible to run. And also, you don't have to do the TEC, Texas Ethics Commission filings. You file with the FEC, Federal Election Commission, if you meet a very high standard of money raising, I think it's $5,000. But I don't really get into that because I've never run for it, I've never filed one of those. Neil Diamond would be the one that you'd want to talk about if you have specific questions about what type of filing a federal candidate must do. But here's the ones that we had that just cross into Harris County. You need to do the same for your county. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 9. One flip, a 7 was up in 2018, and that was John Culberson, and it flipped unexpectedly from Republican to Democrat. And then they say, because these are up every 2 years, so we'll see these again. The asterisks by Michael McCall and Pete Olson, those are the people that have been announced by the Democrats. They are targeting those. So if you recruit someone that it's in a race that's been targeted and it's going to be that close, you just need to know that they're going to, will it help them or hurt them? Sometimes I go back and forth. Have a tight race, you get more publicity. Will you get your publicity, or are you just frozen out? Kind of like Neil was frozen out. So it can happen either way, and I wonder, is that a good race? I tend to think that the tighter the race, the poorer we do, although we may get some notice and attention that doesn't necessarily show up in votes. I think Neil did that. There's that. What we saw across Texas was more competitive races than we'd seen in the previous recent history. In 2018, in the Texas Senate races, 4 out of 16 races, that's 25%, had nominees from both the Republicans and the Democrats. So that reverse that, 75% of the Texas Senate races did not have either an R, or did both an R and a D. So it was an R and an L, or an D unopposed, but they weren't too, so it wasn't really competitive. And there were, in 2018, that wasn't true, it kind of flipped. Only 2 races did not have both an R and a D in it. So it was the Dems that got more competitive. They ran more people where they previously let a Republican run unopposed by the other major party. We had 2 flips. SD 10, that's Connie Burton up in Fort Worth, and 16.
Fines Dallas.
They flipped. Connie Burton's was sort of understandable because that had traditionally been a Democrat district that she won, and it kind of went back. But her fines, no, nobody saw that coming. Now, our party, LP Texas, had 7 Senate district nominees. And Tom and I recruited every single one of them. So we weren't really strong in that, and we should have had more presence in that, but that's what we were able to do. In the 150 races in the Texas House, in 2016, 2/3 were unopposed, and only 10 were competitive. By competitive, I mean if 10 points difference between the winner and the second place. If it's below 10 points, I say, well, that's competitive. But only 10 were in 2016, 2018. 1/3, down from 2/3, 1/3 were unopposed, and 27 were competitive, with 15 under 5%. And the difference is it's not anything different than the Republicans did, it's what the Democrats did to make races more competitive. And there were flips.
12 flips.
12 flips. And we were the only party on the other party on the ballot in 2018, and that'll be true for 2020. One-punch straight ticket voting hurt us in 2018, it's gone in 2020. We can speculate about what that means. We hope it means good things for us. Early voting was the highest it's ever been, and you can see that chart. There's just, people just love early voting. There's some bills in the legislature to change that, but it's not going anywhere. The voters just love it. They love it. Can't get out there fast enough. Now, what straight ticket voting? I know we would all like to think, well, now that you can't do that one punch thing, voters will become more informed. They will become more active, more serious. They will actively research their options on the ballot and make an educated decision about what's right for them. No. They were ignorant and lazy before. They'll be ignorant and lazy after. So we don't know what will they do. Will they go and just punch their preferred party one by one until they get tired of it? And they say, oh, I'm gone. Will they do that? I don't know. I don't know. But we hope at least it did break up that quick monopoly that they had on just voting for one party, and it's not ours. So it's up for grabs. We'll see.
I think that should open up a lot of county races.
Yes,
Because a lot of people don't even vote that far down the ballot if they don't do the one punch.
that's right. And in Harris County, we have so many judges. I got sick of it. I thought, oh, is this ever going to end? Is this ever going to end? I'm voting for judges that I don't know in races I don't much care about. So I felt I had to fight that tendency to say, I'm done. So other people who aren't that as invested in this as we are, I can see them going, statewide races. They may flake out in the judicial races.
I remember talking about this in one of my political science classes, and the interesting thing is that that's why, especially like in Texas, but us voting for judges, that's why, especially from the major parties, that's the office where we'll get a lot of crazy people sometimes, because the Democrats and Republicans say, well, we can put anybody in there. So you get some of the most radical elements of their party because people don't pay attention.
If they have a good name.
Yeah.
Yes, they don't have a flaky name. They can be a flaky person with Sam Houston.
Yeah.
Or something like that. So here's a chart we got from the Secretary of State's website. Legal requirements for candidates. How long do you have to have resided in the jurisdiction where you're going to run? How old do you have to be? You have to be a registered voter? Yes, unless you're a federal candidate. The thinking is that the U.S. Constitution sets forth the qualifications for federal candidates, and we can't add to that. But you have to be a registered voter if you're running for any state office. And there's some other things in here. You don't have to memorize it, just print it out and have it to refer to. Campaign 101, you need to tell them what to expect. And you need to talk to them about the TEC requirements. That in Harris.
What does TEC stand for?
I'm glad you asked, sir. Texas Ethics Commission. And you have to file not just your reporting, but you have to file a financial statement. You have to appoint a treasurer, and that's the very first thing you must do. So you need to be able to walk them through this. When they announce, they should be meeting the TEC requirements, not just the deadlines for actually filing the reports. And these obligations don't end when the election does. Unless you sign up on a final report, you're still on the hook.
And I will say this, in terms of shepherding candidates through the process, this is the most problematic thing. And they need to understand from the very beginning that if they don't file their reports on time, they start getting dinged and harassed by the Texas Ethics Commission. We have had libertarian candidates not know what was going on, just didn't file stuff, ended up with thousands of dollars of fines assessed against them, which they don't collect on, but they put your name up on a website and they make you feel really bad. And you need to be, as party leaders, you need to be prepared to help them, number one, understand that they've got to do this. Number two, help them through the process. Although the TEC does a great thing.
Yes, of all the bureaucracies we've had to deal with, they are probably one of the best in working with you and in forgiving you. If you said, I missed it by a day, I had computer problems, Ryan, they can waive it, and they will, but not if you don't do anything. Not if you don't respond to their warnings and their pleas for you to, just talk with them. But it can get very, they have a good process, it's online.
I will say one other thing. I mean, from just a common sense point of view, the whole purpose of the Ethics Commission laws is to keep special interests from manipulating candidates, right? Well, if you're not raising much money or any money at all, you would think that maybe reporting about that would be something you shouldn't have to do. And I agree with that. But they stickler type bureaucratic rules, even for people who are not spending money or raising money. You gotta, and you're gonna get in trouble if you don't meet it.
But Chelsea, are you the county chair? Yeah. The reality is, from my perspective, there are things you have to do, but none of it's really all that hard.
No, I agree with that.
You need somebody, you might be the reminder for the
Yeah.
candidates.
Well, I have a campaign firm that I'm gonna donate to Hayes,
Gotcha,
for anybody in Hayes that needs help.
Okay.
It's firm.
Yeah, so it's important, I just don't want anybody to think it's all that hard.
No, it's not.
Yeah, okay.
At the state level, if you're running for state, it's all done online. I don't know, every county, if you're running for county office, you have to report to the county clerk. In different counties have different levels of sophistication in being able to support you and help you, whether you can do it online, et cetera.
Talk about the importance of building a team. That yes, we're here to help you, but you need to be the nucleus of your own team. And it's never too soon to start thinking about who that would be. And I always emphasize, understand and focus on the voters, what they want, not your pet peeve or your pet project. If you have a special interest that just drives you, find a way to weave it into something that's important to the voters. Because if it's just you out there talking about what matters to you, it's not very big. We'll talk about the law of innovation and diffusion in just a minute. Well, how much effort do I have to put into this? That's up to you. We have 3 things we call choice, change, and challenge. And here's just an idea of what that means. Choice means I'm just tired of seeing someone unopposed on a ballot, and I want to give the voters a choice. Okay? Then you probably won't do any fundraising. We would ask you to answer surveys that get sent your way. That's a cheap, easy way, and we'll help you fill out those surveys. You said, well, I don't know what to answer about this. Oh, what's about water rights in Texas? We'll help you on that. And you always have to file with the TEC. You want to be a change candidate? You may do a little fundraising. I think you got to have a little bling. You got to have something to hand out. Postcards or push cards or bumper stickers.
Fidget spinners. So all the kids took Neil's name home to their parents.
Something like that, and you don't have to have the whole panoply, yard signs and all this, but just something that a badge that looks very official and has your name on it. You just need to have something. You have to need some kind of internet presence, social media. Don't take anything to put up a Facebook page and just have it there. That's easier to do than a website. And answer the surveys. Yes. File your paperwork. Challenge, this is where we're making a serious effort. And you really are going to try to win. Fundraising, you got to do that. Block walking, we talk about that. It works in some ways, some it's a marginal utility. Internet, advertising, press relations. You need to think about that if you're going to be a serious candidate. And your campaign team, time commitment, and of course, paperwork with TEC. What's a campaign like? Well, it's up to you. Yes, you should hone your messaging. 3, maybe 4 main issues that are repeated over and over and over. Advertising, yes, but it doesn't necessarily have to be TV advertising. In fact, even the major party candidates are backing off of TV advertising. It's very difficult to do in our fragmented society. In my day, we had 3 stations. Everybody watched the news from one of those 3 stations, or maybe flip back and forth. And so you knew where to advertise to reach voters. Now people turn it off. There's so many choices, so many channels. You can advertise, and you don't really know if you're. In fact, Greg Abbott in 2014 just made the decision not to advertise on the major networks. He did. He did it on others, MidTV and CWT. He found where his voters were, and there's where he advertised.
Yeah, he bought set-top box data to analyze on a granular basis where people, what people were watching, and then based on his target audience, he advertised to that.
Yeah, we did some,
That's so.
after the election, we did some investigating, and this is very open. He did an article in Political magazine explaining how he did his 2020. And I didn't see any signs of him doing it in 2018, but maybe he just felt he needed to prove himself that first time. But it was spooky. It was creepy.
Big brother on
It's almost like Joe Biden, coming up behind you. Anyway, they say that you must touch a voter 5 to 7 times. Some people say
Joe Biden
10.
probably touched
Took
it.
that literally.
And in a short period of time, it can't be, 3 months and 4 months. They got to see your name and see you before boom, 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 it starts registering. Oh yeah, that person. So you got to find a way that you can do this. If you're going to walk, and something on the door, then you need to mail them something. Then you need to do something. Knock on the door and talk to them. If I get their internet address, you can find this out. And and do some videos that they're just different things you can do. Put a sign in the yard across the street. In some way that they keep seeing your name. That's what Beto did at the events, but it was under the radar. It was he did it in college campuses and he did it in certain neighborhoods, and I think he just got people just used to seeing the name Beto. You talk about all kinds of signage. Everything needs a required legal text. There's advertisement paid for by whatever, almost everything. And Tom's gotten really expert on that. We had to figure out how to put did you need to put that tag on a bus? Well, we didn't know.
Did you have to?
We did.
We did, but we didn't know if we did or not.
I think you do.
But the TEC was like, I don't know. So we did it because we thought the risk was too great.
And if it's going to be a sign on the side of the road, there's another part of the code that says you have to about because you can't put it on right of ways.
Yeah. I think we did. Anyway. And polls, we don't get asked in the polls. I mean, we learned a lot about why that is. And so we commissioned our own poll using Rasmussen's polling service. And we saw, because we're paying for it, we can write the questions. No, they wouldn't do it. They said, because they said that they have certain verification questions or validation questions that have to be answered. It has to be, are you Republican, Democrat, or Independent? I said, I want to say, are you Republican, Democrat, or Libertarian? They wouldn't do it.
They also said conservative, liberal. They wouldn't put libertarian in there either.
Yeah, moderate, conservative, liberal, moderate. They would do that. Because I said, if we don't ask these same questions and get the same parameters in the answers, we can't validate our. I said, well, what's that to me? Okay, but I wanted to know. So that's just something that you can pay for it, but it's not. You don't own it the way you would think you would.
It just goes to show how entrenched the two-party system really is.
Yeah.
They've gone to great lengths. Like even like you hear the conservatives will talk about property rights all the time, and then they support having that sort of stuff. Like, even if you pay for it, you can't decide what it is. There's what the United States has is there's a political monopoly disguised behind an illusion of choice. That we're for all intents and purposes a one-party system. It's just that it's designed to look like there's more than one, and that they're terrified of the Libertarian Party and even some other smaller parties because they recognize that even us just getting a little bit of momentum could rock their world.
By the way, just as an interesting confirmation of what you're just saying, is Wikipedia, is dominated by the progressive establishment. And their editors are aggressively believe that no libertarian deserves equal treatment on Wikipedia. When I tried, they had a page on, the governor's race for that year. And I just wanted to put Kathie's name up there, and her picture alongside the other two, to do it. And I would go in as an editor to do that. And then other people would pull it down, and we got into these battles. And when I started fighting back on that, they accused me of violating all sorts of rules. They said I was a meat puppet, or there's all sorts of weirdo editorial rules that they use to drum anybody out that's not part of the inner sanctum. I got banned permanently from any IP addresses that I had at the time from ever editing on Wikipedia, just for fighting for Kathie.
Yeah. Well, because I was talking about this with a friend of mine the other day, that what it is, part of kind of going off what you're saying with Wikipedia, the part of their strategy is maintaining a perception of the Libertarian Party that we're like a bunch of crazy people. Like they take what the most extreme elements of the Libertarian Party say and try to make it seem like that's the entire Libertarian Party. Like that's one of the things that caused me to take a little bit longer to actually come to the party, was because I remember like in high school, early college, I thought Libertarian Party was just a bunch of anarchists who want to abolish the entire government, privatize everything. There's some people who like that. I have friends who are anarcho-capitalists, and I have good conversations with them sometimes. But what I realized, the more I've gotten involved in the party, the more I've realized that the main issue is just keeping government out of people's day-to-day lives,
Right.
and that things like having foreign policy are still accepted.
I'm not gonna go through all this, except I want to focus on one. There's two: stump speech and address. You need to have a stump speech. Everybody needs a stump speech. You shouldn't be too proud or too, I don't know what it is. Good actors know their lines. They memorize them. That frees them up to be spontaneous. Extemporaneous speaking is a skill very few people have, and it's probably not any of us. But you need to have a stump speech. You need to have a 30-second speech. You need to have a 2-minute speech, and you need to have a 5-minute speech. And no, you don't have to have it memorized to a T, and you can change it up. You can say it different ways, but when you have that in your head, it frees you up to do so much better and to communicate so much better. Dress for the job you want. Candidates have a uniform. You need to go in as a candidate and look like people say, I bet he's a candidate. Just by the way you dress, by the way you read, maybe with a small, oh yes, have a shoe on your head. Yes, that would. And maybe have an entourage, 1 or 2 people with you, so that it just looks, when you walk in the door, say, okay, I saw a candidate come to an event for another candidate, not dressed the way he should have been. He was asked to come up and speak. And he did, and his first thing he said, if I'd known I was going to speak, I would have dressed better. Well, always dress as, even if you're not supposed to speak, as though you're going to, because you never know. And you increase your chances of being asked to speak if you are well dressed. So, focus on what the voters want, not your pet topics, but understand there are different types of voters. And I'm convinced that, well, until recently, I don't know what Texans want anymore, but I'm convinced that most Texans want the kind of solutions that we offer to the problems that they care about. They want liberty solutions. And we talk about educating the voters. Well, I don't know about you, but when somebody tells me I need to be educated, I hear, you're uneducated. And it doesn't sit well with me. But you can inform people, and you can identify with them. You can connect with them. That's what you want. That's what I want. We want the same things. We have shared goals, and you're not getting that from the other parties. You never get what you want from the other parties. So we need to unite to work together on our common goals. That sort of approach is much better. Now, you do a lot of educating. I'm not going to deny that, because a lot of people don't know what libertarian is, never heard of it. So that is a form of education, but I wouldn't portray it in those terms. It's just something that happens because they're seeing you, meeting you, maybe first libertarian they ever talked to. So you will inform them, which I think is a better word than educate. Now here's the law of diffusion of innovation. And this is something that I'm very tied into, so I'm gonna take a few minutes to talk about it. This is a marketing concept that's very old. This chart has taken it and put it into political terms. But basically, it's a study of how human beings fall into predictable personality types with respect to how receptive they are to new ideas. And it could be different ideas, and you'd be a different type of personality if we were talking about technology or fashion or music. So, but basically, it goes like this: 2% of the population is innovators. They're into ideas. They're like scientists. The next segment, 13% early adopters. They're into ideas too. They're more like engineers. They want to take a good idea and put it into practice. So they're into ideas and action. Then you have your early majority, your late majority. And this early majority is not into ideas. They're into people and events. That's what they care about. Don't talk to them about ideas. Not only will they not absorb it, you'll turn them off. Late majority, they're just into people. Laggards, they're people who, the only reason they went out and bought a touch-tone phone is because their rotary phone died and they couldn't find a replacement. They're conservative Democrats conservatives in Texas who still vote Democrat. Election. President of what? You don't know what draws them out because they're hard to tell. But of course, these are the people that win elections. People don't really care about ideas. Now, to me, this explains Trump, and it also explains Beto. They became different times in different ways, became celebrities. And usually they say, you have to reach these people before you cross the chasm here. It's these people who take your concept to these people. Well, not with Trump and not with Beto. They jumped right over these people, went directly to, with use of TV, in other ways. They jumped right over them and became here.
Basically populist, that's the term.
Yeah,
Populist.
Well, and it's celebrity. To me, it's celebrity. Those late majority people are people that are ones that read used to read People magazine when they read People magazine. They're the ones that watch daytime TV, soap operas, and Oprah and all that sort of stuff. Right? They're just into who's sleeping with whom, and what are the cool kids doing? What's the woman's name?
Oprah.
No, I can't.
Ellen?
Well, it used to be Paris Hilton.
$40 trillion, you're spending $2 trillion
the
on new
Kardashians.
taxes.
The Kardashian.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Kardashian
Yeah.
city is what late majority is all about. And so they're going to be drawn to anybody who's presented as a celebrity or who they think is a celebrity. Both Trump and see the $70 million of Beto turned him into a celebrity, even though he was not famous or anything.
Yeah. But he did it in a way, he went after the youth vote and the non-voters, which everybody says, oh, that's where you gotta go to get votes. I said, well, really, how do you do that? Well, Beto did it. And, this isn't really, this isn't really by age. I see a lot of millennials in these majorities. Beto's campaign was almost an issueless campaign, as far as public policy issues. It was all about skateboarding and blind squirrels and that sort of thing.
And why can't we all get along?
Oh, and I would say there's no ideas, but there are ideas that are not critically examined, like climate change. Gotta be for climate change. And if you now it's reparations. I don't know what's going to be next. But so there are ideas, but they're half-baked ideas that are virtue signaling.
I don't think there's anything after reparations. I think that's the end of society.
Well, I noticed too, especially with the climate change issue, there's oftentimes two things I've noticed are an oversimplification of ideas, and also a closeness to alternatives. Because my perspective on the climate change thing is that I'm sort of the middle ground between, I guess, like the mainstream approach and like the hardcore libertarians and climate change deniers. Like, I don't believe that the government should be just forcing people to do stuff. But what I do think we should be doing is innovating and trying to have a more even playing field, get rid of certain fossil fuel subsidies, and if we do invest public funds in anything that is technology that moves us forward, try to use the free market as a force to our benefit, but at the same time recognizing the shortcomings of ignoring the problem.
Yeah, you are clearly either an innovator or an early adopter. You're not an early
Okay.
adopter.
But this is, it's easy for me to understand and agree with this. But I said, okay, how do you do it? Because people don't go around with a sign on their forehead, say, early adopter here.
Nope.
You don't know. You have to size them up. You have to figure out, where do I go to find early adopters? Because otherwise you can spend, people say, oh, I convinced them of this. Well, you haven't convinced an early majority or a late majority. They just agreed with you.
It's a follower.
Because you were the only one there and they had to follow somebody. They'll go around the corner, meet somebody else who would take a diametrically opposite opinion and they'll follow them.
Tell them about Tom Woods talking about Ron Paul and
Oh, yeah. We had a Liberty Fest Houston in 2015 in Harris County, and Tom Woods was our keynote speaker, and he talked about the Ron Paul followers who are now Bernie supporters. And he talked to them online, and he did all this. He said he found out that a lot of them didn't really go with Ron Paul for his ideas. He was a stick it to the man count, yes. And so then they go to Bernie, and so Tom Woods said, "You were never really one of us. You never really absorbed what we got. You were just there for your personal thing, and that personal thing then became."
Because in 2008 and 2016, Ron Paul became, or 2012, excuse me, Ron Paul became a celebrity on college campuses. And so the celebrity followers came out in addition to the people who were influenced by his ideas. And so, not all of the Ron Paul people from that day are still liberty people, or ever were, I guess is what I'm saying.
Okay, so here's what you thought we all came for. Where do you find candidates? How do you find them? Well, Tom and I have worked since 2010 to build a database, and it's a very good one, and so we have that, and that's something good to have, but it doesn't come overnight. So if you don't have that to fall back on, where do you go? Those people who have run before is your first best option. How do you find out who this is? If you're on Select, we have this thing called Ignite, and they've got candidates going back for years. And then you go, maybe they didn't run in 2016 or 2018. Maybe they sat out a while. Maybe they're back in the game. Maybe they moved and now for some reason. But people who have run before is the most likely person that you can get to run again. And you can think about those that you need to fill a difficult slot. I went on Ignite and I filtered on attorney, lawyer in 2018 when we needed to have an attorney general candidate. And I contacted dozens of people just because they were licensed to practice law and they could fill some of these judicial slots or attorney general. So you can take someone who has a special interest, something that really drives them, like sign language, something that's their passion. You can say, well, here's a different way that you can get public notice using a bully pulpit of running for office. You can pursue your passion in another way.
Although to a certain extent, that's a contradictory to what we just said before, which is saying you should, when you run, I'll talk only about your own pet
Right.
issue.
So you need to weave that through, that I'm all about transparency or something, but if there's a large segment of the community that does not have access to that because so you can find a way to weave it through there. I'm convinced. You just need to be alert to that's what you're doing. You're trying to weave your issue into the public's values. And network. Everywhere you go, whether it's every time you leave your house, go to any type homeowners association meeting, anything like that, you can network and you can find people who are griping about the way things are. Ask them, how do you expect that to change? What are you doing to change? Have you ever thought about running for public office? being part of change? Or are you just gonna sit on your couch and shout at the TV? How to hook them. Make it easy to say yes. Have prepared yourself the way we talked about. Know what offices they're eligible to run for. Before I seriously sit down with somebody, well, it's kind of like courting a woman or a guy. You can take it easy. First, let's get together for coffee. I got some things I'd like to talk to you about. And then you ask them about it, but you know the answers to the questions they're going to ask. I wouldn't sit down with somebody before I check to see, are they registered to vote? Where are they registered to vote? And then I would know. I see you're here. Have you thought about this? You know, you sound like a good problem solver. That's kind of what a justice of the peace does. Have you thought about running for justice of the peace? And know the history of those races. Oh, that was a tight race last time, but I don't think it will be this time. Or it wasn't tight, he was unopposed last time, but I don't think that'll be true this time. He needs to be opposed, don't you agree? And have a notary available. Tom's a notary, yes. So if we say, oh, I see, it's got to be notarized. No, I can't do it. I'm a notary. And it's just like making any sale. Find out what their objections are, what their complaints are, what's the impediment to them, and try to solve that, work around it. Although you got to trust your own judgment if you're pushing somebody too far. You don't want to push somebody to do something they really don't want to do, just to satisfy you. It won't work out. What selling points? We have no filing fee. Of course, there's this bill in the legislature that might change that, but we're crossing our fingers hoping that doesn't go anywhere. Other candidates for major parties have to pay a filing fee, and it's from $5,000 for Senate down, I think, $750 for state house. So it's substantial. That's a big selling point. Our bully pulpit, yes, you get to talk about things that matter to you. Hope you will weave that into what matters to the voters. But yes, if you have an issue like Lloyd Finnegan, it's a big deal that happened, not in our state, but there are a lot of people who are very passionate about governmental overreach and government interference or police brutality. You know, if that's your passion, then you can find a way to weave that into an effective campaign. Only 3 parties on the ballot. There's a little selectivity, a little exclusivity there. There'll only be 3 at most people on the ballot for that race. Would you like to be one of them?
That's not quite true because independents can come in.
That's true. And then how can we help? This is what we have done in Harris County and we'll do again. We send emails about reminders of the TEC filings, more than one. When we get volunteers come directly to Harris County, to the state party, we try to match them up with nominees. If nominees want it, if they want that kind of help, we answer questions. We're a resource for them. We provide some voter analysis. We can get a list of voters, people who voted in the Republican primary, general election, Democrat primary. I mean, we have those lists, and we can do some very elementary analysis. We're not at the Neil Gaiman level of analysis, but we can help you. And if you want to go to that level, we can help you get started. We can help you with the questionnaires. It's hardly a question that I see that I haven't seen many times before and have a kind of a pat answer for. So we can help you get started with that, and then you can make it your own. On our Facebook page, if a nominee wants to repost an event or something that they've done, we'll do that. We have workshops, at least 2 in an election cycle for candidates. If requested, we can try to stay out of the nominees running their campaigns, but if requested, we will help them organize events. We know how to do that. We know how to send out press releases, and so we can help you with that. You might put together a different list of what you are able to do as a county party. So that's my story. That's my input, and if you got any questions, I'd be glad to answer them. But it's just get started, and then things will open up, avenues will open up. And so we've got a lot to do, a lot of work to do for 2020, to maintain balanced status and to increase liberty and to solidify our party. So let's work together. Okay.
What district, Senate district do you represent?
Senate District 21.
21. So that's the sliver. Most of Hayes is 20. And that's not up this time around.
No, Zaffarini is up.
But you're in Zaffarini's?
Yes.
Okay, 21. So, okay, so there is that sliver of Hayes that has a Senate district.
Yes.
Might get to you.
I've got so many of these blue folders for y'all.
Print out.
Yeah, I was gonna ask for it, thank you.
And the state rep district for y'all's county is just the one, right?